From the Aishin Broadcast Studio, it's the Executive Spotlight.
Welcome to the AutoSuccess Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today we've got two guests, Tim Whalen from Voss Auto Network and Greg Uland from Reynolds. Welcome, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks for having us.
Well, let's dive right in. You know, dealerships across the country are struggling with finding and retaining technicians. Greg, what's your take on what's going on and what can dealers do about it?
Well, I mean, first of all, technician turnover has been an issue for a long time. And the reality is, we talk about it because we're in the industry, right? Technician turnover is a struggle. But the reality is turnover of employees in general is a struggle across the U.S., right? You look at tech turnover, and it depends on the stats you look at and how you calculate it. But when you look at it annually, somewhere between 45 and 50% is usually the number that you'll get. 46 was the most recent one on an annual basis where a technician is going to leave. But the total U.S. turnover rate is really about the same. It's a little lower this last year, which is a good sign at 41%. But we're in the ballpark. And when you look at, the skilled trades, we're right in line with the skilled trades across all industries. So we don't have, this problem isn't isolated to just dealerships, but it hurts us a lot because it's so hard to find good technicians. So when you get to it, and Tim, you can share some stuff about this because you live it every single day for sure. But, it's kind of easy to point to, well, there's just not enough qualified people, or, we can't pay them enough. But the reality is it's never just about money, right? There's a lot that goes into somebody staying in a role, staying with a company beyond just the money. The money's important, certainly. And for a technician, it can be a really, obviously job that leads to a lot of success from a financial perspective, but there's a lot more that goes into it. So, we can dive into what Tim does, but at a high level, it's certainly a problem, and it's a problem that we aren't alone in trying to solve.
I agree with you 100%. One of the issues in our field in particular is that it takes so long to develop a highly qualified technician. This is not something you can do in 6 months or a year or 2 years. This is a 5 or 10 year plan. So when you lose one of those people, now you've got a big problem. And trying to have somebody else that you're working on and develop is a difficult thing to do.
Well, Tim, you're the service manager for Voss Chevrolet. Can you tell us kind of a little bit about the network itself, and then how you've felt the pain of losing technicians in the past?
Sure. We are a fairly good sized organization. We have 7 dealerships around the area, several different brands that we represent. But one of our ideas is we need to take care of our customers, but we need to take care of our employees as well. So we have a lot of long-term employees, and we've had that for a long time. But we did originally have a good bit of turnover in technicians. Mm-hmm. I've been here about 9 years. Right when I came, we started a little different philosophy. We decided we weren't going to go out and try and hire technicians. We were going to develop our own. And that's been really successful for us. We have an extremely low turnover. I've lost 2 technicians in the last 5 or 6 years, and both of those have not been to other dealerships. They've been to other industries. So it's been very successful, but it takes time and it takes money. But I think, unfortunately, a lot of people are short-sighted and want immediate results, and they just don't exist.
Well, and Tim, I would say that you didn't lose those 2 techs. You promoted them, right? So that's a little different. Right. Somebody didn't quit. They had other opportunities inside, and you grew them to the point where, and you provided those opportunities. So I would almost argue that that's not even turnover, right? That's the company's keeping them. Yeah. Obviously, your service department lost the tech, but that's a great example though of taking an individual and growing them so far that you're giving them even more opportunities, right? And when you see a technician move into an advisor role or into a service manager role or anything else that they could do in the store, I think those are the types of career opportunities and paths that are going to keep people even longer.
Mm-hmm. Right. And we were, because of what we're doing, we had other people to step into that role as soon as they left. So there really wasn't, any downtime. So you got to keep that that cycle going. You have to keep feeding that machine that you have, these trainees and these young people that are coming up through the process.
Well, Tim, I mean, when you got there, it sounded like you guys were kind of where everybody is or was, and now you're kind of an outlier in the industry, and that you're training and maintaining all these individuals. Like, how many people have you helped down the path of learning to be a technician in your time at Voss?
Oh, I've not counted, but I'd say probably 15 or 20 people have gone through our process to varying degrees. But I really concentrate on the people that are here, that have stayed and are making the best of it. And I've got some amazing success stories. I have a young man that was my first recruit. He's probably my most productive technician at this point. He's just a great guy, and it's awesome to watch this develop and watch him become a professional and develop a life and buy a house and get married and do all those kind of things. To me, I've been in this business a long time. To me, that's the great thrill of this job now, is to help these young people build careers and watch them be successful.
Yeah, and I think it's important to call out there's two pieces to this puzzle. So Tim talked earlier about developing tech. So, and Tim, you can probably go into some detail, but getting folks that are in high school or in trade school or in college, and bringing them in and helping them learn and helping them grow, and then once they graduate, bringing them into the store. So that's one piece of the puzzle, which is recruiting, which you probably don't have to do too much anymore, but you're still involved in those programs regardless. And the other piece is what Tim was just describing, which is really retention, right? And keeping those folks so he doesn't have to recruit. So you grow techs, but then that growth doesn't stop, once they're trained, right? Quote unquote trained. That growth continues for a really, really long time, which is what I'm so impressed with what Tim's been able to do at Voss, is just that continued growth of people. Certainly technicians as employees, but just people in general. That story you just told there is a great example. So it really is two things that blend together. One's recruiting and the other is truly retention and growth.
Sure. And a lot of people lose sight of the retention part of it. Everybody wants to go out there and come up with these great ideas to attract people to come, pay them more money, give them sign-on bonuses, pay for this, pay for that. But when they do come on, what are you doing for them? What's the work environment? Are you giving them opportunities to succeed? And I think that's what we do really well here at the Voss Auto Network is we truly appreciate our guys. We show them respect. We give them great opportunities. Now, obviously, they have to take advantage of it. But it's there for the taking if they want to apply themselves. And we really encourage that. I mean, for General Motors, for Chevy, the pinnacle is becoming a GM world-class technician. There's a very small percentage of those guys in the country. I have 5 world-class technicians on staff here. There isn't a dealership that I know of anywhere that has anywhere near that numbers. But that's the encouragement that we give them, the support that we give them, and then these guys are reciprocating with wanting to take advantage of that.
Presented from the Ishin Broadcast Studio at Babcock's Media.
Wow. Well, I mean, can you give us a little peek under the hood? Can we, share with us a little bit about what that looks like? The types of training that you're doing and kind of the path that leads, the young guy you mentioned to becoming, a world-class technician.
Sure. It's quite a path. It's long. It's thousands of hours of training. So you have to first complete all the General Motors training there is in 8 different categories. You have to become an ASC Master Tech in all 8 categories. And then you have to go to hands-on assessment for all 8 categories. And that's where you actually demonstrate you really can fix a vehicle. It's not bookwork. They bug a car and you have to figure it out and debug it. So it's true hands-on. You really demonstrate you know what you're talking about. So it's quite a process. It takes years to get there. It's something that the technician has to commit to, but it's also something that the dealership has to commit to because there's a good bit of expense in doing that. There's a training, there's out of town training, so a lot of expense involved in that, but a huge benefit as well. I mean, every chance I get, I talk about my world-class techs because that sets us apart from everybody else. So that's a competitive advantage we have.
Great. Well, you mentioned commitment there. I mean, for another dealership, somebody else that's watching this podcast right now and says, boy, I want to get there. What's the commitment look like from the dealership's perspective?
The commitment is a good bit of time away from the dealership, because all that training, takes time. So, and you have to pay the technician while they're away from the dealership. So you have a lot of absentee wage. You have the lost production. And then, when these guys reach this level, there's increased pay that has to come along with that as well. So there is definitely a financial commitment involved, but there also has to be, some moral support and some encouragement as well.
Well, as you've moved down that path with Voss, what's the impact been, on your service department?
Well, I think the biggest impact is the quality of work that we put out. When you have that many highly skilled technicians, obviously the quality of work that you do is going to be very high. So our customer satisfaction is very high because of that. We have very little comeback work, very little return work. So there's a lot of benefits to us for that and to our customers.
Well, Greg, how'd you come across Tim and his story of what he's been able to accomplish at Voss?
Yeah, well, our paths have crossed a decent amount, but what he's doing at Voss and what the Voss Auto Network is doing to support him and all of their employees is pretty impressive. So, I actually got to dig into the story on our Reynolds podcast, Connected, which is something that we've been doing for quite a few years, and that was a great conversation. I hope everybody can go check it out. Maybe we can link off to it, but Tim shared this story there, and it's one of those things where you just want to have as many people hear it as possible, because it's a success story, and hopefully everybody can learn from it. One of the things too that we're doing going forward, each year we have our Reynolds Retail Summit. We call it Amplify, and this year we're adding to it with a contest called the Automotive Amplifiers Contest, where we're taking submissions for ideas like these, right? Best practices on how to get better. To be able to share throughout the industry, to share with other dealers, and to really try to help everybody get better. Because at the end of the day, that's the most important thing, right? If we want to solve this big problem, and Tim's doing a great job in his store and across the Voss Auto Network, but we want to help kind of solve this problem industry-wide. So folks like Tim sharing ideas is a great way to do that.
Well, I mean, if a dealer that's watching this right now has a great idea and they're interested in sharing it, how can they submit their idea? How do they get involved? How can they reach out?
Yeah, they should definitely do it. We'd love to see them. So the Amplifiers Contest, they can actually submit their ideas at rayray.com/amplifiers contest. I'm sure you'll post this on LinkedIn. You can send it to me directly on LinkedIn if you want to. We'll take them from anywhere, but the best way to do it is at rayray.com/amplifiers contest. We're taking submissions until July 12th. It'll be a lot of fun though. So 9 finalists will be selected across 3 different categories: fixed variable, and then community impact. And they'll receive a VIP ticket to the Amplify Summit, and we'll bring them out and they'll present to a panel of judges there. Winners will actually get a $5,000 donation to the charity of their choice. So we're excited about that piece of this as well, but also really just sharing these ideas across the industry.
Cool. Can you tell us a little bit more about the summit? What's involved? What happens when you get there? What are you going to learn? Tell us a little bit more about that, please.
Yeah, sorry, I kind of jumped right into the contest because I'm excited about that piece of it. But no, it's a 2-day event. This year it'll be at beautiful Lansdowne Resort in Leesburg, Virginia. Tim, you probably familiar. You spent a lot of time in DC over the years running service departments and dealerships.
It's a wonderful place. That's my hometown. So yeah, it's a great place to visit.
Yeah, it's right there in wine country, just outside of DC. We'll play golf on day 1 at the Robert Trent Jones course there. It's a really historic course, very cool. There's some old stone walls from about 250 years ago, so some history on the course, and we'll have a nice reception and dinner for that first evening on Monday, and then Tuesday will be an action-packed day. We'll have a lot of speakers. We'll have an expo. We'll have workshops. We'll have kind of breakout sessions going on. So a lot of activity, and obviously we'll have our Amplifiers Contest as part of it as well. So folks will be presenting on stage there.
Well, like who should attend? Who should attend? I mean, can anybody sign up? Is this something that's for dealers, general managers? Like who are the people that should come to this and would get value from it?
Yeah, we'll have folks there, and we'd love to invite anybody, right? So everybody's welcome. But we'll have folks there from really across the country. Last year, our kind of national footprint expanded quite a bit. A lot of people flew in, so we'll have a lot of people from across the country, from dealers, GMs, department heads, and even users for some user group type of stuff to OEMs. So we'll have some manufacturers represented. It'll be a great collection of folks across the industry to share. Very excited about it. We'll have one of the big pieces of the puzzle speaking on stage is the president of NADA, Mike Stanton. So he'll be there and sharing some things. It'll be a great event. But yeah, anybody can certainly come register at rayray.com/amplify. Tim, hopefully we'll see you there.
I'd like to be there.
Cool. Well, guys, I really appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Is there anything more you'd like to share with our audience?
Kind of went all over the place. I had a good time, good conversation. Tim, how about you?
Yeah, I love talking about this kind of stuff. This is kind of my passion. So, yeah, it's fun.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. And thank you for taking the time to join us for this AutoSuccess Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today, my guests have been Tim Whalen and Greg Uland. We hope to see you again on a future episode. This one's Over the Curb and Burning Gas.